Welcome to episode 30 of the Girls to the Front podcast, the podcast where I show up in the hope that it'll empower and inspire other people to show up and tell stories and to put themselves out there. So, I hope you've all had a lovely week or a lovely 2 weeks. I did something that I never thought I'd ever do. So, my really good friend and incredible human, Kerry Pillai, asked me, somehow managed to put herself forward to do a photo shoot, and then asked me if I would like to do the photo shoot with her. So this photo shoot was for a swimwear brand, and the idea was not to advertise their stuff, but essentially to raise a profile and tell stories around women and their relationship with cold water and their relationship with each other and how that relationship was built on going in cold water. So it was like a wonderful and amazing heart-filling experience to do that with someone that I love very dearly, and being able to share that experience with them was amazing. And being able to just do something that, like, for me, going in cold water is now a really big part of my life, and I do it for a numerous amount of reasons, which I think I'm going to dive into on today's podcast. But yeah, I do it for a numerous amount of reasons, but I feel like there's something incredibly special with going in cold water and the people you do that with, and being able to kind of like tell that story, and to be able to do that with Kerry and listen to Kerry's side of the story and then tell my side of the story was like super emotional, but like really amazing. And yeah, knowing that it's been documented, because I'm a huge advocate for like documenting your days, and being able to like look back and reflect on stuff and having like a documented record of that, being able to like look back on it and know that it exists forever and always, is amazing. So I haven't seen anything from it yet, so I'm excited and nervous at the same time. But yeah, the whole day was amazing. So yeah, got there, the shoot was in Swansea, so not too far to travel, and then yeah, being able to get your hair and makeup done, which for me is wild. I was like listening to Kerry get her hair and makeup done, and she was like, oh, I use this lipstick and I find this lipstick like, yeah, I like love it. And then like listening to the makeup artist say like about her experience with the lipstick, and just like they had their shit together. And then I literally got to my turn and I was like, look, don't ask me any questions because I don't know the answer to them. So that was an amazing experience. There is something really lovely about having someone try and make you look like the best version of you. So yeah, I had that done. Then being able to like try on the swimwear, finding the swimwear that like you want to wear, and then walking to the beach, and then just having this really nice experience where we were made to feel like really empowered, and the shoot was like awkward and hilarious in the best ways possible. We started off by like telling our stories about like our relationships with each other and why we go in the sea together. And like we had bets on who was going to cry first. I really thought it was going to be me, and it was me. Like hearing how you have a big part in someone's life, or at least you have a role to play in someone's life, for me is like super humbling and overwhelming. So hearing Kerry articulate that like in my presence was huge. And then like vice versa, being able to kind of also explain that back. We both cried. It was, of course we both did. Like it was only a matter of time. And then, we got to, just hang out and take pictures and document what going in the sea and what that like relationship is to us. So that story and this whole experience has kind of inspired today's podcast. And today I'm going to talk about comfort zones and why we love them, but then equally why we should leave them at times and do stuff that is like super scary, and why that is a really awesome thing to do. So the photo shoot, like I can't speak on behalf of Kerry, but I think we both felt the same about it. Like we felt like we're both quite awkward humans. I do not think of myself as photogenic. If you want to see how photogenic I am, ask Kerry's husband Owen to show you some pictures that he has of me. I'm laughing. From like in the gym, because there is not one picture that makes me look really cool. I often am like, oh, will you like video, or will you like try and document me like working out, and then I'm gonna like look really cool, and then I'm probably gonna shout and go to the front and try and inspire other people to like lift heavy shit and not care about it. And then I look back and I'm like, oh wow, I am a walking human muppet. Like I am a Jim Henson puppet at all times. But you know what? That's just who I am, and I'm going to double down on it. And sometimes I might not look cool, but I hope it inspires other people to do what they love and to not look equally as cool while you're doing it. So yeah, I'm not a photogenic person. I find being in front of the camera, I'm really comfortable documenting stuff now, and I put other people at the forefront, but I find it really hard to be on the other side of that. So being on the other side of that and like really feeling quite vulnerable and quite visible was a big deal for me. And even though I knew it was going to be super rewarding, I was incredibly anxious and nervous about doing it and being on the other side of that. And yeah, just getting out of your comfort zone. But I guess it feeds into actually the magic of comfort zones for me. So I am someone who has been brought up really landlocked in the countryside. I think the nearest beach is like 2 hours away, no matter where you are in Herefordshire, where I'm from. So the idea of going in the sea, and the sea itself is incredibly, like, is really scary for me, and I still think of it as quite a scary thing to do. I have got better, but I still am like terrified of the sea. So doing this photo shoot that was outside my comfort zone about something that regularly puts me outside of my comfort zone felt very apt, and it's why I'm going to talk about it today. Okay, so let's start off with why do we love comfort zones? So comfort zones are like really safe, and they're almost like this cloak of invisibility that you can put on, and you can just exist in your comfort zone. You can do your day-to-day, you can kind of stay quiet, you can shrink, you can just kind of get on with a routine and a structure that doesn't really stand out from the crowd. And there are lots of people, for me, being inside comfort zones comes with not being challenged, with being able to just exist without other people kind of critiquing your existence, because at the end of the day, comfort zones, we're all in comfort zones and we're all kind of doing a really similar thing. So no one's going to look at you and think that you're standing out. So there's that element of why sticking in your comfort zones is a really nice thing, and we all look to do it. We're all guilty of trying to seek what a comfort zone looks like and trying to stay within those comfort zones. Comfort zones look different to everyone. And yesterday I was trying to articulate this to someone, because I was like, well, for some people, massive challenges in the gym are their comfort zone, or like massive feats of endurance are actually where they are happiest. And as much as they say that, oh, this was really challenging and it was, it was a level of discomfort, actually, they love being in that discomfort. So technically, it is still a comfort zone. You're still seeking what you feel happiest doing. And it almost feeds into what you outwardly project into the universe, which is someone that is like quite happy to have hard workouts or to deal with like hard physical stuff. So for you, that's your comfort zone. And from the outside in, that might look different to other people, but you're not putting yourself outside your comfort zone because you're doing something you're really happy with. For other people, that comfort zone looks so different. Like I was trying to say it yesterday to someone, that their comfort zone is doing hard stuff in the gym, and actually where they seek discomfort is just talking about themselves and, talking about themselves in a public way and just putting themselves out there. So that comfort zone needs, that discomfort zone or that level of putting yourself out there needs to be sought in a different way. And it's interesting to see how some people's comfort zones, like some people like talking about themselves, some people like existing and discussing that, and that's their comfort zone. Some people don't like doing really hard workouts in the gym. That's not their... It's just interesting how like each of these things are so individual to who you are as a person. And you have to kind of work out, well, where am I seeking things of safety? You have to be quite self-aware and quite critical. Not critical, but you need to be able to critique, like, Are you just doing stuff because it is comfortable, but it looks and it might feel a bit hard? Or are you actually seeking a level of discomfort? So we love them because they're safe. We love them because they make us feel invisible. We love them because, you know, we're not going to be challenged or critiqued on what we're doing inside that comfort zone. It's super safe. So with that in mind, you almost need to leave them to grow. So you have to come out of your comfort zone and do something that's challenging and difficult to learn about yourself and to grow as a human and to kind of take some lessons, learn some lessons, build on those lessons, and then, grow as a human. So if you think of it like, I guess, plants, so they're in their little spaces. And those spaces sometimes allow them to thrive because they are comfortable, they have water, they have sun, they have all the things they need to do. But then sometimes that space might change, or it might not have ever been conducive to them growing anyway. So you have to kind of pick that plant up, you have to put it somewhere else, which at that time might feel like a really discomforting thing to do, because you're kind of moving stuff, you're doing stuff that's challenging, it's hard work to kind of pick yourself up, de-root yourself from where you are and then plant yourself somewhere else. But sometimes that's what needs to be done. You need to move out of your comfort zone, you need to go seek something else, you need to go seek a new zone, you need to, you know, just challenge what you thought was comfort and what was discomfort and put yourself into spaces that might feel difficult to start with, but will challenge you to grow and be a better human. So for me, like the easiest one that comes to mind when I talk about comfort zones is, so like I said, I grew up in Herefordshire, in rural Herefordshire. There is no sea anywhere near me. So when I moved to Swansea, the idea of going in the sea was really scary and something that I didn't even consider. It wasn't until I had two friends like text me on I think it was a January or even a February. It was like really early on in the year being like, we're going in the sea, do you want to come? And it was snowing, it was raining, it was awful weather. And because these two people had been like, you have to, like, we're going, do you want to come? I was like, yeah, shit, okay, yeah, I'll come. And then that from that point onwards, that whole feeling around knowing it was going to suck, knowing that it was not something I actually really wanted to do. If I was going to think about what I actually wanted to do to that day and put it on a to-do list, like going in the sea in the snow was not on there at all. But it was that moment on that give me this like epiphany and this light bulb moment to be like, well, actually, I think I need to remove myself from my comfort zone of everyday life and do this one thing so that I can learn from it and I can grow from it. And there's lots of other things that come with going in the sea. For like, that cold water does give you some clarity. You can't think about anything else. Your mind goes pretty much utterly quiet while you're in the water. But for me, it's also that journey to getting in the sea, the anxiety, the what ifs, the kind of the whole process of driving, knowing it's going to be cold, particularly like in our UK weather, where you know it, like, to be honest, the sea in the UK is just never warm. I mean, it's more pleasant in the summer, obviously, because the air temperature's a bit warmer, but at no time would you say that the sea is this lovely bath to go in. But there's a whole big journey for me that leads up, and I seek that level of discomfort. I seek that whole journey and that whole progress because I learn something new about myself every time, and it reinforces the stuff that I often doubt about myself. So I have been brought up, I've grown up, I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I show my emotions all the time, and that has led to people saying that I'm not resilient, I crack under pressure, there's a whole like narrative around how I can't deal with bad situations, and that because my default thing is to often just show an emotion, like that's been interpreted as kind of a weakness, and it's been interpreted as like not being resilient. But going in the sea reminds me that actually I am all of those things, and even though I show emotion, it doesn't take away those other characteristics of mine. It doesn't take away the fact that I am resilient and that I can expose myself to cold water for a period of time. It doesn't take away from the fact that it doesn't mean that I'm weak, because I can get in the sea on my own. And in the last like few months, lots of stuff has potentially, I think a lot of stuff has changed in my life. Going in the sea is still a group activity, and I have friends that I do it with, and then we have a cup of coffee afterwards, and it's super lush and I love it. But there are times where I now have to get in the sea by myself, and I have to kind of self-motivate myself to knowing that I'm doing it by myself. That moves me into another level of discomfort, because the fear of going in the sea, the fear of what could happen to me in the sea, the fear of like potentially not coming out of the sea is a very real fear of mine. And being able to overcome that also shows me that I am not a weak human, and that I am strong enough to do it by myself. I'm strong enough to deal with the cold, come out, look after myself, get myself back in the van, and do all of these things by myself without having to be looked after by another human. It's all just reminders that I have grown a lot. Recently I've grown very lot, but Recently I've grown a lot, but also I've grown a lot over my life, and that I still have room to grow, and that each time I do it, I learn something new. I can stay in a little bit longer. I can, come out and, still document it and be cold, but be used to that cold, all this sort of stuff. But it all comes from seeking not being in my comfort zone. It all comes from seeking some discomfort. So my goal is to go in the sea once a month, and I've been doing that for I think 3 years now. And it's just a reminder that I am seeking discomfort. I'm doing these things that are outside my comfort zone. I'm learning a lot from it. And actually, it is so fucking empowering to do stuff that's not in your comfort zone. And you are like, oh, I am capable. I can do it. And even if I fail, there is stuff that I can learn from it for next time and be a better human as a result. Because failure isn't necessarily a bad thing. When you fail, maybe I should do a whole podcast episode on failing, but when you fail, there is so much to take away, to learn from next time. Failure doesn't mean that you've failed as a whole. It's just a little tiny thing in like a bigger picture. But like being able to learn from that and to grow from that, and seeing that in outside of your comfort zone is huge. There's a quote that bounds around on Instagram and social media all the time that's like, change doesn't happen in your comfort zones. You have to seek coming out of that to grow. And I truly believe in that. But also I think sometimes we package comfort zones up to be this or like when we come out of our comfort zone, we package it up to be a really huge, like momentous occasion. And when you're stepping outside that comfort zone, you're almost like shifting yourself into like a whole new life. Because Instagram and social media don't allow you to do things small. Everyone needs to they amplify things, and, they amplify the wrong things in the way that they try and make you look like you have to completely U-turn your whole life to live a life that's not inside your comfort zone, if that makes sense. I know what I mean. I don't know if this is coming across well. But because it is such a platform for indulgence, it's such a platform for like huge things that you can't just come out of your comfort zone by doing one small thing. It has to be this huge, huge, huge act. But the reality is that I actually think you can come out of your comfort zone daily with small, tiny actions. And within that, then you can learn so much from yourself. Going back to episode 29, when I talk about like chop wood, carry water, doing the mundane every single day and seeing the magic in the mundane, there's also magic in coming out of your comfort zones on those days. Coming out of your comfort zones in really small ways will also equate to like huge. It doesn't have to be quitting your job. Like coming out of your comfort zone doesn't mean that you're in a routine that works, but it's not really challenging you. but you want to come out your comfort zone, you want to have some change. It doesn't mean you just have to quit your job there and then. What it could mean is coming out your comfort zone by going on social media and saying, like, I am living a really mundane life. Let's talk about it. Like, you know, I think it's not so much like completely uphauling everything you know to not be safe anymore or to be more visible. It's like really just about putting yourself out there and doing discomforting things that you can learn and grow from. Like little things like talking to camera is so huge for some people, like so like anxiety fueling. But imagine a world where some of your like favorite artists or favorite musicians didn't put themselves out there like that. You wouldn't have some of the stuff that changed your life or saved your life. You wouldn't have stuff that you can relate to. You wouldn't have stuff. You just wouldn't have all this stuff. So imagine what you could do for someone else by stepping out your comfort zone, documenting something, putting something out there that then people are like, I really needed that today. So yeah, comfort zones don't have to be like, coming out of your comfort zones don't have to be huge, momentous acts. Coming out of your comfort zone could be a small act, something small that you have been considering, or something small that you know is going to like leave you with those feelings of being like, this might be cringy or anxiety, like all those sorts of things. It just has to be small actions, but will ultimately lead to you growing and developing as a person and making you feel like super empowered as a result. So I advocate for seeking what like your discomfort zones and being brutally honest with yourself about what your discomfort looks like. Discomfort for everyone doesn't look the same. So just because I get in the sea and I see a level of discomfort in that doesn't mean that somebody else sees a level of discomfort in that. People love going in the sea for various reasons. It could be because it is such a mindful and present act. You can't think of anything else. You can only think of the sea, and that's why they love going in it. For me, it's more about that discomfort, about that journey, about going into the sea, the whole build up to it, the whole kind of embedding that I can do stuff. But don't look to other people to decide what your comfort and what your discomfort looks like. You need to have a proper conversation with yourself. You need to document things. You need to see what you're super comfortable in doing. And then as a result, decide what is it that's going to take me out of my comfort zone and potentially make me a better human as a result. So I advocate for it. Go find something that's discomforting. Go and find something that makes you feel incredibly visible. Talk to your friends about it, do it for yourself, do it on your own. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that you do. It can be, you don't even have to tell anyone about it. Like it can just be something that you've done. And then, you just are like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm really proud of myself for doing that. I feel super empowered. Here's an example for me. Discomfort for me, and something I would learn a lot from, is going out for food by myself or like having to have something where I have to sit with my own thoughts for a length of time, where I don't have any distractions. I feel like I am quite good at being present and mindful, but I have so many thoughts zooming around my head all the time that it would actually be incredibly uncomfortable if you put me on my own, like in a restaurant to eat by myself, and all I could do was sit and talk to myself. I would find that that's the sort, it could just be that. It could be documenting a day and putting that on social media and putting yourself and making yourself really visible. Go in the sea if you don't go in the sea. Just do something that will give you a level of discomfort, will make you feel very visible, so that you can learn and then bottle those feelings of how awesome you felt as a result. It is always about the process, I think, with these things. The process of doing, the process of it being done, and then the process of how you feel afterwards. It's not necessarily that kind of, what do you call it? Like that immediate dopamine hit. Like sometimes you have to chase it in terms of it's more of a process, and you get that kind of good reward feeling from the process of it, as opposed to it's like immediate gratification, isn't it? Is that the phrase? Yeah, immediate gratification. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes it is the process that leads you to to finding the like empowering thing about it. And sometimes you don't realize that until you've done it, and then you get to reflect on it like a week or a few days afterwards, and you're like, yeah, I'm really proud of myself for that. Because sometimes we just need that time to think and to process. Comfort zones, stay in them. But if you stay in them, I don't think you'll learn. I think there are opportunities to grow and to be a better human as a result of not being in your comfort zones. So, yeah, try and find what that means for you. On that note, okay, I'm going to move into what I've been listening to this week. Okay, this one might be incredibly rogue, but I'm gonna double down on it. I'm gonna go with it. So sometimes when I'm doing my work, I've articulated before that I like to find something to listen to and then I listen to it. Sometimes that's albums, sometimes that's playlists. When I'm trying to do deep work, when I'm trying to really think about what I'm doing, sometimes that background noise has to be less like heart-wrenchingly amazing lyrics and music. Sometimes it just has to be something calming in the background. So if you've never done it before, I would like hugely recommend doing it. But there are playlists on Spotify that are like just classical music. But the ones that really appeal to me are a lot of them are called like film scores for test scores. But basically they're like study music based around film scores, or study music based around like TV shows and stuff like that. So you'll hear like theme tunes and things, and they're so beautiful and lovely. So you get this whole like deep work, like present, like mindful act that you can kind of like get in the zone with. But every now and then you have this like little click of recognition, and it makes you feel like warm and nice because you're like, oh, I remember this. And yeah, anyway, this is incredibly rogue, but the one I'm going to recommend for you to listen to this week is from How to Train Your Dragon. And I can't for the life of me now remember the track title, but I recommend you putting it on. It's the scene where he befriends Toothless and they go on their first like flight. But it is like, it's amazing. So yeah, I would recommend listening to that. I would recommend listening to that while you're doing your work, but equally, it's awesome just to listen to when you're like out in nature, because you can like really relive that bit where he's riding his dragon. So yeah, so that's gonna be my recommendation this week. So yeah, on that note, thank you for listening as always. Do something that's out of your comfort zone. Let me know what that thing is. We can talk about it, or keep it quiet and then tell me what you learned from it. Yeah. So have an awesome week, and if you've got any podcast topic recommendations, I would love to hear them. But now go listen to the soundtrack from How to Train Your Dragon.